I was literally shocked by how much animosity and how much hatred and vitriol there was towards gay people and people who were not 100% white. I mean, this racism and this homophobia and of course the ridiculous conservative politics, right-wing idiocy that I had to encounter there as well. All of that was incredibly shocking to me initially. But over the years, I got over it and realized that these people are just fucking idiots and that you can't argue with them. I mean, you can sit down and you can have a complete discussion with them about something. And their arguments are rarely logical. And if they're not logical, they're based on religion. So religion's an opinion. Okay. So you can't really argue with an opinion based on a belief system you've been brainwashed to believe in. If someone is a Christian or a Jew or Muslim or whatever they might be, that's fine, good for you. But can you argue against gay marriage without bringing in your religious belief into it? Or can you argue against your racist beliefs without bringing your religious beliefs into it, or bringing in what you were taught by your family into it? No, most of the time they cannot do that. They have to actually bring in religion or something else, because that's the whole reason they believe it in the first place, because they were brainwashed to believe it by their religious beliefs, not based on logical thinking or rational thinking, based only upon their fucking religion or whatever. So I just realized and recognized you can't argue with these people, because there's no way of having a true discussion or, a tete-a-tete or whatever with this person, because their reasoning is irrational and their belief system is irrational. So how can you have a rational discussion with someone who's irrational, right? So just recognize that in life sometimes there are people that you just need to say, bye, Felicia. Okay. Just say bye. You can think what you want, but bye. You're not worth my time. Now waste your breath on people that actually have an open mind and actually want to actually have an open discussion with you. I've learned to keep an open mind, even listening to conservatives. I never agree with them in the end. Really rarely have I ever. There was only one time I watched a documentary about, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a conservative documentary. I watched it about 6 months ago, I think. And it was about America. Excuse me. And it was about America. And it was about all of these myths, American myths that we have, he says, about why America is the way it is, whatever. And one of them was how the Mexicans have always, in America, and the Native Americans have always said that Americans stole their land. And I watched this documentary, and he had several things he said, and only a couple. It was like 10 things he said, 10 points he made, and I agreed with like 2 of them. And one of them was about the fact that Americans did not actually steal Mexican land. They actually won it in a war and gave back half of their land to Mexico, the land all south of Texas border, which was the entire country of Mexico. They gave them back all of that land. They owed them a debt, and when they settled that debt, they paid them back giving them back half the land. And in my opinion, that was fair. And so my point is that's just one way that I have kept an open mind to listening to a conservative point of view and listening to the facts and reading about the facts and learning, and as opposed to just speaking from a talking head standpoint or as a pundit and just trying to say whatever my people, liberals, would say in that situation. And of course, he said a lot of the things like 9/11 and things I thought was a bunch of bullshit that he brought up about, I didn't agree with. My point is that you can argue with me. You can have a discussion with me because I keep an open mind, and I can actually have a rational discussion with you, as long as you're not coming from an irrational place. Okay. Being different in life, as I have been my entire lifetime, has been the only way I've known to be. I am what I am. I can't change what I am. Being gay, being biracial, being liberal, and in a very conservative place. These are things, and being a loud liberal, someone who speaks out against injustice and those sorts of things as well. That's what's made my life interesting, and being myself. And myself is someone different. And so I would never want to change that about myself. When you're young, all you want to do is to fit in. And when you're older, all you want to do is to stand out. And so you might as well just continue to stand out your entire life and stop trying to fit in all the time, because you should fit in with people that you fit in with, and not try to fit in with people that you don't. And stop trying to beat your head against a fucking wall, trying to make people change their minds or think differently about who or what you are. Just fucking be yourself, as I said earlier. And that's all that you have to do. Don't worry about what people think. What else we said? Music is everything in life. Yes. People aren't talking about you. Oh yeah. Most of the time people think people are talking about me. People are talking about me, whatever. But I've always said, people have always talked about me. Even when I was in middle school and elementary school, high school, college, in every job I've had, people talk about me negatively, positively, whatever. But I've always had people talking about me. I've always been somewhat of a small time celebrity wherever I go. And I don't know what that is about me. I guess it's because I am different, because I'm outspoken, because I say what I think, whatever, because I am not like most people. So I guess people think to talk about me because of that. I don't know if that's why I attract that energy, but I always have. Regardless of why, they always have. And I have been, I've always said, and there's a saying, if people aren't talking about you, you aren't doing anything anyway. And I think that's true. I think it's true. I think if no one's talking about you for negative reasons or positive reasons, that you're probably not doing much with your life. I mean, if you're not making some sort of an impact, at least I'm making an impact in places I go in whatever small way I can make it, whether it's with this small show or whether it's within my career or whatever, whether it's negative or positive, I'm making an impact. I'm being noticed. People actually notice me and know who I am. And that means I'm making a difference. Whether positive or negative is up for, debate, of course, depending on who you ask. But my point is that if you actually are doing something with your life, then people will be talking about you to some degree or another. College, I was drilled into my head growing up. College is, you have to go to college to succeed. You have to do this. And, unfortunately, I didn't, my family was not an artistic family. I had artistic people in my family, like my aunt, Lee. I think she had some artistic ability, and some other people, but but it wasn't something that you could actually pursue as a career, any kind of artistic endeavor. You're supposed to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or a businessman, or whatever. Those are the things that my family thought were success. And so as a kid, those were drilled into my head. You have to be a doctor or a lawyer, you have to be a businessman or something. You need to make money, you need to be successful, blah, blah, blah. And so those are the things that I wanted to be when I was growing up. But what I really was good at, I was making Lincoln log buildings, and I was making playing card houses. I was drawing floor plans just for fun, and I was building little forts that had rooms in them, and I was rearranging my family's living room and decorating it. I was doing all of these things that there were signs of what I should be doing, but no one actually recognized those as potential for an actual career in architecture. They recognized them as just, I don't know, some kid, I guess. But instead, so my point is, when I went to college at SMU, I started out, I went there for business, and I went there for business because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And it wasn't until I got to SMU and started to be in some art classes and being in some creative classes and theater and other things like that I recognized that I really was an artistic person and not a business person. Even though I have a business acumen about myself, I'm very good in that way, in some ways about it. It was not something I could see myself doing day in, day out and being fulfilled. And so after SMU, I went to get my degree in fine arts elsewhere, and also in architecture and master's degree. I studied for my master's degree there as well. And so my point is that, I had all these people telling me who and what I should be. And I was a kid. I didn't know any better. And no one gave me the opportunity to actually consider something else. If I had been exposed to all of these other options that I didn't even know were out there in terms of architecture, interior design, or engineering, or whatever you want to get into, or just fine art or photography or painting or graphic design, which I've also been as well in my lifetime. I had a business doing that in marketing after SMU. I would have been farther ahead than I had been. I would have wasted my time at SMU. I would have gone directly into it. I would have gone to New York. I would have gone to other places and focused upon what I really, truly was passionate about, rather than what people were telling me to do. So my point is to you is to, first of all, you don't have to go to college to succeed in life. It's a very well-known fact that people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates dropped out of college, and other people who are, immensely successful individuals in their lives and made incredible impacts on society with technology or other people in other ways, or acting or whatever. So you don't have to go to college to succeed, of course, but it does help. In this society today, specifically, a college degree is almost like a high school diploma used to be in the 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's kind of just the basic thing you have to do to succeed in something in this world. Obviously, there are certain professions where you have to have a college degree, like if you want to be an attorney, JD degree, if you want to be an attorney, or you want to be a doctor, or you want to be an architect, or whatever, you have to have a degree. But there are other things that you can do. And my point is, is to follow your passion. Yes, but do it knowing that you're doing it because you are passionate about what you're doing, not because you want to be rich, not because you want to be famous, but because you love doing that, whether that's acting or architecture or the law or being a policeman or a fireman or a teacher or whatever it is that you are passionate about doing. That's what you should be doing with your life. If you're going to pick a profession, you might as well pick one that you actually love doing every day, because ultimately you're probably going to end up doing it anyway, going back to school and studying for whatever that is anyway. So you might as well get it over with in the beginning and not listen to all the voices and the talking heads behind you and your family, your friends telling you who and what you should be. Only you know who and what you should be. And if you don't know who and what you should be, take some time off, learn who you should be, and then focus on achieving it. That's my advice there. Success, by the way, only a few more here. Success is defined differently by everybody. I have never been someone, when I was a kid, I did. When I was a very young kid, elementary, middle school, whatever, I defined success as being wealthy, having cars and fancy clothes and nice houses or whatever. But as I aged, I began and matured mentally and emotionally. I recognized that success has nothing to do with that, really, as much as it does with achieving in your life whatever your goals are. Really, if you've achieved whatever your goals are for yourself, which may or may not include being wealthy, if that's your goal, then fine, that's how you define success. But if your goal is to simply have a family, or raise a happy child, or be the best wife or husband you can be, or be a mentor, or whatever, something that's not going to make you tons of money, or be extremely wealthy, or be a charitable person, or start a charity, whatever your objective is. If you succeed at achieving that objective in your life, and you manage to actually succeed at that, then that means you are successful. Whatever that means, having a family, friends, whatever, having enough money as opposed to being extremely wealthy. If that's success to you, that's how you define it, then that means you are successful. Don't allow someone else to define for you what it means to be successful. Don't allow someone else to define for you what it means to be happy. As I said a minute ago, that no one else does. I guess the last couple things are just try and try and try again, no matter what you're doing in life, professionally or in love or whatever. Don't give up because you've had a million setbacks, because sometimes it takes 1,000,001 to achieve it, whether it's success in business or in a career or in love or with your family or with working out or losing weight or whatever it may be. You just have to keep trying, and eventually you will succeed. If you give up, you can't achieve anything if you don't actually try, right? So whatever it may be, just keep trying. That's more advice that I have to give. Don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something. Don't trust anyone who hates dogs or cats or pets, basically, in my opinion. Other than those who've had a traumatic experience with cats and dogs, don't. And I guess the last thing is, I do think this is controversial, that there probably is not a God. I don't think there's a God, at least in terms of the way the Bible explains the God, or a God, or there's, a God in terms of how he's described by most people as this man sitting on a throne with angels flying around him or whatever, and getting involved in your life every day. There may be an energy or something, but I don't consider God to be the way he is described in the Bible. But there probably isn't a God in the way he's described that way, I don't think. And this life is probably all that we have. And so then when we die, we die. And you don't don't live your life thinking you get a do-over. When I was 19 years old, I almost killed myself over a man.